Welcome to the Traveling Pokemon channel. I'm sitting here with my wife Sue, my daughter Krista, and her husband Ray. We're traveling companions, quite often do a lot of trips together, and we just came back from a wonderful safari in Tanzania. We're going to talk a little bit about our experiences today in the Serengeti. Who wants to start? Talk about that.
Go ahead, Krista.
Well, that was our longest day so far. We had a very long drive to get to the west end of the Serengeti. And this was the day that we drove through or past Ngorongoro crater. So we got to see some of that, overlook into that. And then I just remember lots of driving. We saw lots of animals that day, which was nice because we were out in the wilderness through our drive to the Serengeti. So that was our first day. I think the African massage really
kicked in
and made a mark.
It was a thing, surprise to me because I just assumed because it was so far away we'd be riding more on the highway, and we spent almost 10 hours on dirt roads.
Yeah.
But the nice part of it was we were seeing animals the entire time in the Ngorongoro crater area, and when we finally got to the Serengeti gate. And through that gate, we, began to see a lot of animals there too. But I remember, it was a long time between bathroom breaks, and it didn't seem like our safari guide ever had to leave himself. And we were kind of getting anxious about being able to take a break now and then. And we were also not nervous or whatever, but he was driving very fast on these very rough roads, and it was kind of a surprise to us. And I think one of the reasons he said that he was driving so quickly, one, actually roads felt smoother if you drove faster.
Right,
than
so
if you went slow. You didn't feel every individual bump. But it was also, he knew that it was going to be a very long day to get to our next destination where we were going to stay the next night, and he didn't want to get there in the dark.
Yeah.
So. And
also, during our trip, most of the rain happened around like dusk and into the evening.
Yep.
And once those roads get rain, it can be very challenging to drive on them. So compounding the dark with tricky roads in the rain, I think he always tried to keep us safe and make sure that we were hitting the places we need to hit in the best conditions possible with the roads that were available.
And also to give us time, because we like to stop and take pictures and videos of the different animals. And so we did need time to stop every once in a while, because we couldn't just go past them all.
Sometimes we were a little frustrated because we wanted more time to sit and kind of soak it all in, but he knew, he's done this so many times before, that we didn't have as much time. We needed to get there.
And we got to the hotel right at dusk. So the timing was perfect.
So Krista was great about keeping track of all the animals that we saw each day. So that first day in the Serengeti, what did we see?
So we saw a mongoose, we saw zebras for the first time, giraffe, and wildebeest. And I remember he mentioned that zebras and wildebeest spend a lot of time together because they actually eat different types of grass. So one eats hard grasses and the other eats soft, which is why you see them often together, because they're not competing for food. We saw weaver birds, and those make really interesting round, circular, very specific circles, like really strategically engineered nests. And we saw those on a lot of our safaris, but just really interesting birds. We saw Grant gazelles, and we saw Thompson gazelles. We saw lion and some older cubs. We actually saw a cheetah that chased and caught a baby gazelle, which was very interesting, and then a hyena that stole its catch, which was very frustrating for me. The cheetah put in all that work, and then the hyena just took it. Ray and I saw a serval jump and catch a bird out of midair.
I missed that one. I didn't see that one.
Yeah. We got to see our first hippos. We saw some termite mounds, which we saw throughout the Serengeti. We saw ostrich, African Cape buffalo. We saw side-striped jackal and 4 puppies, which was really fun, and they were closer to the road, so we got a really great look at them. We saw topi and a baby topi, and that's what I have on my list for that day.
Yeah, and one of the surprising things is that, these parks are pretty well attended. Quite a few people do these safaris, so every day there's safari vehicles, right? And we're only seeing a small portion of the park that we can observe from the roads, but the animals do not seem to be phased out at all by the safari vehicles going on the dirt roads there.
Yeah.
I think they're used to them. They don't feel threatened by them. Sometimes we had to stop because there's a bunch of zebras were passing in front of us, and I've said this before and I've gotten some objection to it, but it's like the first time we saw a zebra, it's like, whoa, wow, we saw a zebra, and then we saw like another zebra, and then we saw 100 zebras, and then we saw thousands of zebras, and after a while, we stopped taking pictures and stuff because we had already seen them, But that was an amazing day. Let's talk about the cheetah thing. Our driver had indicated that the cheetah was his favorite, and it's amazing that he even spotted that cheetah in the tall grass. I mean, I would never have seen that. He was driving along and he said, "Oh, a cheetah," and he knew there was a whole herd of gazelles out there, and he knew that it was getting ready to do something. So we parked and we waited.
Probably 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, it was a while that it crept up, and then all of a sudden just took off, and it ultimately got the gazelle. I think it was a smaller one.
Yeah, it was definitely a baby.
A younger one. And then the hyenas ended up stealing the kill. Yeah. But that was an exciting thing. We talked to other people that have been on safari, and it's pretty unusual to see an actual takedown or actual kill. Yeah, it's quite unusual.
Yeah.
So
we were lucky for it to be in the first 45 minutes in the Serengeti. We got to see something like that.
Yeah. And you saw the
serval jump out of nowhere and catch a bird.
Yeah,
I saw it out of the corner of my eye. All of a sudden, it was running.
Did we get a video of that?
No. It was way too quick. It lasted probably 5 seconds.
Yeah.
I started yelling, "Oh my god!" And then bird exploded, and we definitely caught it.
Yeah.
We also stopped at the Maasai village that day.
Oh, that was that
right?
day
That
as
was
well.
that day. Yeah. So
that was interesting.
Well.
Yeah, and that was maybe an hour or more that we spent there.
Yeah, we were
which was interesting.
If
people are interested in learning more about that, we are going to have a video about our kind of visit to the Maasai village on our channel as well. But that was interesting. I think it was worth doing. Yeah,
I wouldn't want to do it again.
I don't think I would do it again.
Definitely kind of touristy.
Watched the other video, but mixed emotions about how much of it's authentic and how much of it's for tourists. But it was still interesting nonetheless.
Yeah.
I would have been disappointed if we went to Africa and didn't do that. But it wouldn't be on my bucket list to do it again.
No.
But I did enjoy dancing with the woman I was assigned to. We're dancing, we're singing, we're trying to communicate because she didn't speak any English and I did not speak much Swahili. So that was kind of fun, and we're jumping around dancing. So I did enjoy that with her, and then I did enjoy seeing the children in the classroom.
Yeah.
They're learning their ABCs and the numbers.
Yeah.
I just thought
that was cute.
Yeah, they were
very cute.
Yeah.
That is something that we saw along this day's journey, is that there were a lot of different Maasai tribal areas, right? Like a lot of different villages. And on our way in between them, there were, what I found really fascinating, were 5, 7, 9-year-old boys and girls, either trying to sell something on the side of the road, trying to get your attention, or a lot of the little boys were herding 30, 40, 50 sheep, cattle, and that just amazed me how independent the children are there and how confident they are, being out in the bush, taking care of 30 sheep, 40 goats, and tending to them, taking care of them at such a young age. I think that was...
And walking around outside in sandals in an area where there are lions and cheetahs and
snakes and
buffalo and dangerous animals.
Yeah, a bunch of things that could kill you.
They really don't have any, unless they're in their boma, they're not really protected at all. They're not carrying weapons.
Yeah.
So
but they're very confident in how they move around their space, and
They know the land.
so I thought that was really interesting to witness.
That was a long day, but an exciting day because we got to see a lot that day.
Saw more elephants,
There was a lot more elephants.
more baboons.
Yeah.
Baboons
so-
everywhere.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it was great. And then right at the end of the day, right as the sun was setting, we pulled into the Kirawira tented camp.
Here we're Serena tented camp.
Kirawira,
Yeah.
Serena tented camp. Yeah, we stayed 2 nights in that tented camp, and that was really
Yeah.
really interesting and different. That was
Yeah.
only stay at a tented camp, but that was
It was probably the highlight of all the rooms.
Really nice.
And we say tented camp, but it was very, very luxurious
Yeah.
tented camp.
Yes.
Yes.
Size beds
Marble countertops.
and very
Yeah.
fancy.
Yeah. Traditional toilet and shower.
Yeah,
and
hot
sink.
water.
So
Lukewarm
what was
water.
the highlight of your stay at the tented camp?
Yeah, well, the highlight of our stay at the tented camp was the following morning. We woke up and rolled up our chaise, and I looked out the window, and I saw an elephant, like right outside our site, eating off of a acai tree. And then, as I rushed to get dressed and went out there, I realized there were 7 elephants, 3 adults and 4 babies. So there wasn't great Wi-Fi there for us, so I wasn't able to call the 2 of you. So it was sweet because Ray and I had like a private moment with them. No one else knew that they were there unless they had looked out their windows, and so it was really a nice, like, intimate, special experience.
Yeah, something
We
we'll,
stayed on our deck. We gave them their space. We were quiet. We honored their mourning, but it was
something we'll never forget.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm really glad that you had that experience.
Being-
We saw a couple of monkeys.
Right. We walked outside. We were thrilled. We got
We
monkeys
had some
outside of
monkeys
our.
right on our tent, right around our
Sorry.
tent.
You know, we burst that bubble.
I cried.
Yeah, yeah.
sure.
For Krista's favorite animal, to be able to see them
Yeah.
in
And
the wild,
babies.
and the babies, and the one
They're
with
so
the little
cute.
trunk, all stubby trunk.
Yeah, there was one that
adorable.
had a short trunk. I'm not sure why, or if that
Birth or
was a
something
birth
got it.
defect, or if something happened to it when it was little. But it had this little stump for a trunk, and it was so sweet. But it was still doing its thing and eating, and
We did see an elephant with a stubby
I think
trunk.
we saw it later.
You think of the same
I
one?
think it may have been.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it may have been the same one that day.
And we stayed there. So we got up that next morning. We had that experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think our guide, some of the guides want to start really super early, but our guide wanted to start a little later that day.
Mm-hmm.
Started, I think, around 8:30,
Yeah.
to our later days. And that was maybe because our safari vehicle was covered in mud that night before, to the point where it's difficult to see out the windows.
Yeah.
And I remember when we finished our breakfast and went to the safari vehicle, it was spick and span. He had
Mhm.
washed it and cleaned it and inside and out. We kind of started out fresh again that day.
Yeah, and before that night, when he was cleaning at night, he had the leopard ran by him. I think it was a baby leopard.
Yeah,
He said, and
while
then
he
Yeah.
saw
Then
a
he,
leopard and he went back.
he
to his-
stopped cleaning for the
Very
night
attentive
after that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I forgot that. I didn't hear it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So was it? So we went out another game drive the second day in the Serengeti, and I think, was that the day that we saw the injured hippo?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so again, Krista kept a list of everything.
All the new things that we saw.
the
that day.
new things that we saw that we hadn't seen before. Not every animal, because we basically saw giraffes and zebras and wildebeest and turkeys like every day.
Elephants. and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes,
So again, we saw a different type of weaver bird. We saw a leopard turtle. It was actually in a puddle of water, so we didn't get to see the whole thing, but we were able to identify it with the book. We saw what our guide called a bare-faced go-away bird. We saw and excuse me if I pronounce any of these things wrong, Lila Corolla bird. That was the one that had a purple, like really vibrant purple head, and then a really vibrant blue body. We saw a few of those. He said that if you're really into birds, you go out really early in the morning because that's when you'll catch. And there's so many different species of birds. But We saw a Tony eagle. We saw guinea fowl. That was the first time we saw vultures.
The guinea fowl were the Chinese chickens.
That's what he called them. Yes, Chinese chickens.
Yeah.
We did see a lion pride, but it was further away and they were resting in the grass, so we didn't get a great look at them.
Was that the one that was doing more than just resting?
No, that was the next day.
Later on.
Okay.
We saw a yellow bearded coal bastard bird. This was the one where we saw an injured hippo. So we saw a hippo on its own in a pool right up next to a puddle, right up next to the road, and we got so excited because it was so close. This was our first close encounter, and then we noticed it was trying to get out. And Sue, I know you got great video of it.
The poor thing. I saw him. He's trying to get out of the puddle, and then he just kind of lost his footing or something. And then you see him get out, and then he starts walking, and you see his poor left back leg is sliced, right open. A little bit on the right, but the left one. So then he's just limping.
See the bone.
You could see it. Just
You saw a lot.
awful.
Yeah.
Awful. Yeah.
He learned to live with it. It appeared it wasn't a fresh wound.
Yeah. And I remember Bobby saying that because all of us were caught off guard and worried, what can we do for it? What's going to happen to it? And we were all feeling a little sad and concerned. And he said, our guide said, it's obvious that it's not fresh. And you could tell the skin had rolled up and gotten a little crusty, and there was no raw
It wasn't bleeding.
red,
Yeah, it wasn't red at all. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he said it's obvious that this particular hippo has learned, it's had some time to figure out how to cope and manage with it. And so that to me was just a heartwarming story about resilience, right? And that I was able to come back from this painful injury, but it's still doing its thing. And later on, Sue saw it.
We saw it again.
We saw it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, a little
Crossing.
bit later in the day, and was still moving,
Getting closer.
Closer to the river.
We went on a bathroom break.
Yeah.
Remember those bathrooms that were really pretty bad? Right near the river where all the hippos were.
Yeah.
So we went there, and then on our way back, there was the hippo way in the distance walking. You could tell it was
By its
same limb.
Yeah. Probably halfway to the river at that point.
And then Bobby said, "Oh, it's on its way to the river." So hopefully it made it all the way to the river, and it was
Yeah, it just needed a little extra rest, I guess, compared to its other hippo friends who already made it to the river.
Yeah. That was cool.
We saw another version of eagle, a Bateru eagle, which was had some black with red on it. We saw a red-billed coal bastard. We saw a monitor lizard, a yellow-bellied stork. That was the first time we saw a Nile crocodile. That we saw that day. We saw a secretary bird. Those were fun.
Yes.
They looked cute. African fishing eagle. So lots of different kinds of birds.
Lots of birds.
Kingfisher bird. So those were all the new ones that I had noted.
Yeah, that was an amazing day.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we crossed a couple of rivers, that were streams that were flooded and had
raging
a couple of feet deep, and we were navigating with the safari vehicle through them to get to the other side.
Go
I
ahead.
think that's the one where we stopped and there was a road that was closed and it was just raging river, it looked like. And we saw 2 crocodiles on the side.
Yeah.
And then we saw a yellow-billed stork right on the edge, and then a purple heron, and then there was a eagle right in the tree.
We
was
got to hang out.
it was very cool.
Yeah.
And was that the day where we saw all those giraffe together?
Yeah.
Yes.
And we got to see a giraffe drinking out of a puddle.
Yeah.
And that was just so interesting, how it
Spread its
Stance
legs.
it had.
changed its stance, and its whole body had to shift to get a drink. And I read something somewhere that their heart beats differently when they're drinking water, because if they were to just automatically like go down and take a drink, that they would actually faint because they're so
Blood
tall
rushes to their head.
and their blood rushes to their head, and so they have like a special giraffe function that allows them to change their blood flow when they're drinking water so that they don't faint.
Yeah, that was amazing. We saw these big families of giraffes, and it's just so interesting, just the way they walk and move. The giraffes and the elephants are my favorites, just because they're always kind of moving and they're interesting, the way they move and the things that they do. And they crossed the road right in front of us, and there were, big adults and smaller, young adolescent giraffes. I don't know if they were baby giraffes, but they're young giraffes. You could see they were much smaller, and they were so beautiful.
Yeah. I found that the giraffes seemed the most curious. Like when we were about us.
Yes.
Like it looks like they're actually looking at you. Like sometimes they turn their face and like
they seem the most engaged.
I would agree. Some of the lions didn't even pay attention to the vehicle.
And the elephants were kind of did their own
giraffes
thing.
did, I would say too. They seemed more interested in the safari vehicle and whatever.
Yeah.
And the black flies were the worst around when we were around a lot of giraffes.
But the giraffes were cool too, because sometimes you're driving and you just see their heads popping above the trees. So they're more easily visible.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, they're not hidden in the grass.
Yeah.
And something that we learned, and I thought was really interesting, was that giraffes are like, their patterns are like snowflakes. Like there is no two are the same pattern, and you could really see that when we were on safari. Like some of them had lighter brown prints, and others had very dark brown or almost black prints. And some were like snowflake shaped, and others had like more square edges. And I just thought that was really interesting. And something unique about giraffes was like if we, you weren't sure if you saw the same elephant twice, but you could kind of tell that giraffes had a unique, like, distinguishable characteristic about each individual one.
And that was the day we also made the site visit to the Serengeti
Serengeti River Lodge.
Yes, and that was really beautiful, unique place. It only had 10 units, only one family unit. Probably pretty pricey place to stay, but really cool, unique. That hippos right in the
river in front of it,
right alongside their lobby there, and kind of enjoyed watching the hippos
pass all around the resort. Where it's like, oh, that's a hippo path. That's an elephant's come. That's kind of spooky if you're staying there.
Yeah, and that was kind of way out there too. It was. Our driver had never been there before, and then we did quite a few U-turns trying to find the entrance to it because it's right in the heart of Serengeti.
Very secluded.
Yes.
Again, we have a video up on our channel with a lot more information, a lot more detail about that facility, and you can see the rooms and everything that has to offer. It's really an amazing place.
That was probably the favorite one I saw.
And I think that day we did go back, was the only day we went back somewhere for lunch. We went back to the tented camp again for lunch, and took a little break in the afternoon. It was the only day we did that.
Yeah, we took a nap.
Yeah.
Oh, we went swimming.
Yeah.
So you guys took a nap.
Yeah, that's nice.
We had a nice lunch. You guys took a nap, and soon I decided to go down and check out the pool. And we did go swimming for a while, kind of got refreshed a little bit, and then we went out like a late afternoon, early evening game drive that evening.
Yeah.
So that was an amazing day.
Yeah, we saw more elephants, saw more crocodile, hippo. Well, we saw a lot that night too. Beautiful at that time of day. And it wasn't raining, so it was...
It rained pretty much every day we were there because it's November and they have what they call the short rains. But I would kind of compare it to like Orlando, Florida, where it kind of rained hard every day for a little while, but didn't rain all the time.
No, it wasn't a full day rain.
And it really didn't disturb
It didn't affect our
drives,
our safari, or animals that we saw, or impinge on our experience at all.
No.
Yeah, the only time was a downpour.
But that was fun.
It was
different.
It was
fun because we survived.
Well, we also went at the beginning of November, and I think the weather was great. I mean, I was very comfortable in this. A lot of times I took, I was just short sleeved. I actually wish I brought more sleeved short-sleeved, shirts to wear, but I think it was very comfortable. It wasn't really hot.
It wasn't hot. It
was
wasn't
good.
cold. It was pretty comfortable. It wasn't really humid.
Yeah.
No.
Not terribly humid either. So.
So that was good.
And then we spent a total of 3 days in Serengeti. So on the third day, what was your things do you remember about the third day especially?
I personally remember we saw a herd of almost, I think it was over 60 elephants.
That was nuts.
And they were traveling. We saw one couple mating as part of that with our binoculars.
Yeah. Doing the deed.
Yeah, but I think that was just wow, I didn't expect to see so many elephants all together. And I think they were partially migrating. They were migrating together.
I think that's one of the big things with the trip in general is you go, oh, hopefully we see an elephant. You're not going to see one elephant. You're going to see hundreds of
And
elephants.
we saw lots of baby elephants.
Yeah.
A lot of young elephants.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if November is a good time for that, but it seemed to be a good time because we saw baby jackals, we saw baby elephants, we saw baby warthogs, baby zebras, baby giraffe, baby lions. We saw a lot of baby animals, which I thought was really exciting. And we saw a lot of warthogs with babies that day. And that was the one animal that I think was skittish of the car. We don't have great pictures or the best in the Serengeti of warthogs, and especially ones with babies, because whenever we'd stop the car, they'd look at us and run in the other direction.
They were fast.
That was the only animal that was really
Which was
would
adorable.
take off. We did get a few decent shots. Of
Eventually we did,
baby warthogs and stuff,
Yeah.
And I also thought we saw, or wasn't in the crater that when we saw the bush pigs, they were a little different than the warthogs. They look similar, but they were a little different.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was amazing. All those elephants. There were just a big line of them. Just in the distance. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And what else did we see that day? You kept track of your list again.
We saw, I didn't put them on this list, but because we had already seen them, but we saw hyenas that day, more hyenas together. And
It's kind of lounging around.
yeah, and along with hyenas, there were vultures because they're both scavenger animals, so they like to hang out near each other. If one notices something is happening, kind of they all flock together. So we saw new animals that we saw. Bulbul cuckoo bird. Ray and I saw a fruit bat at the tented camp that morning.
Oh.
It was a big beige bat. That was the 60 elephants, lots of babies. We saw saddle-billed stork, warthogs with babies. We saw the klipspringers.
Oh, yes.
Those were those small, there were two.
Small
They are
deer-like on the
rocky.
rock.
Yeah, I forgot what they were called. I got some video clip of that, but I couldn't remember what they were called.
Yeah, those were the
Couldn't find them in
klipspringers.
the book.
Clip springers.
Flip
Yes.
springers. Oh, okay.
We saw a leopard turtle again, but this time it was in the middle of the road, and it had like a very much of a tortoise type shell,
Very pretty.
rounded, and like leopard spots. Oh, we watched that for a little while, made sure it got out of the road. We saw a snake eagle. We saw fireball lilies, which is a kind of vegetation, but they're red, big, like fuzzy balls, and we thought that those were cool and something unique. That was the day we saw the leopard, Sue's leopard.
Yeah, and
I really wanted to see a
that
leopard.
was crazy. He was on a radio with the other guides, and they were trying to figure out where the leopard was. And I don't know how he knew where he was going.
It was amazing how we figured that out.
But we went first to the first place that we went by another Jeep, and they said, oh, we just saw it, but it was going that way.
Right.
So we hung out there for a while.
Yes.
Waiting to see it. So we were just waiting, and then finally he's like, oh, there's another one over this way. So he's driving through the safari, through the
Serengeti.
bush,
And
Serengeti.
we blew by a herd of elephants. It was like, there's elephants there, but we got to get to the
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 leopard.
leopard
leopard.
before it jumps down and we
going
lose it.
by all this stuff. And when we got there, there were like I don't know, maybe 20 safari
There was a
vehicles
lot.
there.
But
Yeah.
he got
That
a
was-
prime spot
Yeah,
for
but
us. We were right
he
there.
weaved in between all of them and
Right
went
under
into-
the tree.
right
Yeah.
under the tree there.
Very cool.
And after that, it really started. It
Down,
was already
yeah.
raining, but it really started. to
Right.
pour
When we
after
first
that.
got there, it wasn't raining, and then you could see the rain. So
That
That was the only time I was scared, like in the safari vehicle.
Yeah.
Was because I feel like rain there, when it gets muddy, it gets slippery like ice in the Northeast.
Yeah, we weren't on any main road either. We were on these side roads that are.
Right.
It was just
They weren't
mud.
even the main dirt road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
These were
Right.
just like
mud.
places
Paths.
people had gone cross country before and worn some paths. Like,
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there were a few places he kind of ventured and said, "Man, I'm not going to make it here. I got to turn around and try another
Yeah.
route."
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it
That was
kinda
worrisome.
interesting.
When we hit the main dirt road, it was
Yeah.
definitely a sight for sore eyes
Yeah.
and
You
sore
guys,
butts.
you guys did see a Jeep though, kind of going through some puddle,
Oh,
and you
I
thought
thought
it was
that
going
was
to
going
tip.
over. It got very
Yeah.
sideways, and it kept going straight somehow. But I thought it was tipping.
Yeah, that looked like I was going to go down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if we got pictures of that. I
Oh,
don't think
no.
so. But,
We were too caught in awe of.
That was one
Yeah,
of those
and I didn't
moments
see
where
it.
we like got onto the main road and the rain stopped. That I feel like everyone like took a deep breath and sigh, and I think we actually clapped for Bobby, like for getting us through
yeah.
that
I think
without.
it was also that
getting
day
stuck
on
or
the way
tipping
to see
over.
the leopard that we went by all these huge outcroppings that were similar to the outcropping in the Lion King.
Oh
and
yeah,
they told
yeah,
us
Yes.
like
that one
Pride
of the
Rock.
big rock formations was actually in the live action movie.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah.
And I think they're called copies. I think I looked it up. These rock outcroppings. I might correct myself on the video later.
Yeah.
But they're these big, massive, just rock formations just sticking out of nowhere
Yeah.
all through that area. But we didn't stop for very long.
But
to
we
get
didn't see
pictures.
any lions or any animals on them either.
We didn't.
Not
No,
there.
Simba
No.
wasn't
This
there.
was also the day where we did see 2 male, 2 female lions and a mating of lions, which was really interesting because Bobby said it's pretty rare to witness, but because he's been on so many safaris, he knows their behavior, and we waited because he knew
Good.
it was going to happen.
You
You
know,
could
solid
tell-
15 minutes just watching these lions
Yeah.
sit there, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
it was over.
It happened very quickly. But it was interesting because he said there were 2 male lions there, but they're likely brothers, and that they kind of, I don't know if give each other turns is like the appropriate term, but they choose who's going to be like the leader of the pack,
Yeah.
and he's the one who gets to
Mhm.
mate, because there were 2 males and 2 females there, and so yeah, that was interesting, and I think something unique to our safari. We also saw dik-diks that day, so like a very small deer-like animal, and they're so sweet and have such
Oh,
like
man.
Yeah, they're like the
sweet
size of
demeanors.
maybe like a 30-pound dog.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they are monogamous, so they just travel in pairs of 2 mostly, unless they have a baby. So whenever we saw them, you'd pretty much see them in just pairs of 2. It's not like gazelles or antelope who are in these big kind of herds.
Except when we were eating at dinner,
Yeah, that was
we only
really
saw
sweet.
one.
Yes,
Yeah,
Yeah.
little Irene.
Yeah.
yes.
But,
You want to tell a story about that?
So that when we're sitting at dinner and this little dik comes in and it's just walking around, and then it ends up under our table chewing on your shoelaces,
Yeah.
trying to untie your shoes.
I know, I was worried about it. Not about my shoes, but I was worried that it shouldn't be eating my shoelaces.
Yeah.
But we were concerned that
Yep.
like
There's
we
a
didn't want to
dik in the
touch it, we
restaurant.
didn't want to feed it because it's a wild animal and you don't want to, interfere.
Mhm.
But the waiter ended up telling us that they saw its mom get killed by a leopard,
Leopard.
and not sure where its father was.
I think
but
both parents got killed by a leopard.
Okay, so the resort, the hotel adopted it, and now it kind of just lives on the property, and they protect it, they take care of it, so it's very comfortable,
Mhm.
just like wandering around, and
Walking
they
up to
named it
people.
Irene, and so it's
Their little
it was-
mascot.
Yeah, it was sweet. It was like now it's their mission. He said, she's part of our family. She's our responsibility
Yeah.
now. And it was obvious that the individuals at the resorts and all of the guides are really passionate about preserving the nature and supporting the animals there. And I think that was a
taking
good
care
example of that.
taking care of what they have.
Was that the day we also started to see a lot of the like migration too?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that yet.
Yes.
But that was, we had seen wildebeest and we'd seen
Zebras.
topies and we'd seen zebras, but that
And buffalo.
day and buffalo. But that day we saw thousands of zebras.
No.
Nope.
No, that was the next day. I had
Is it?
big herds of migration
The last
on the
day
way
driving
to
out.
the
saw
when we
big
drove
herds.
Oh.
out.
I think we
saw it
started
the
to
next
see
day.
more and more as we went towards the central, like
Yes.
during this day, but we didn't see like that huge line
Oh,
until
right.
we were leaving the Serengeti.
we did
Right.
see a ton of buffalo on our way to the leopard. Some of them were like really close to the car.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And just like they're very intimidating. Like
Yeah.
their faces when
Yeah.
they looked at us, they
They don't look
didn't
friendly.
have the curiosity
Yeah.
that the giraffes did. They're kind of like,
Get out of here.
yeah.
Mhm.
They, at least their appearance looks gruff. I mean, we never had any issues.
No.
You know, they never tried to.
Yeah.
They didn't seem disturbed by the vehicle, but
Mhm.
yeah, they're intimidating. I didn't want to sit there too long and wait to see what they would do.
And it was at the end of that day that we stayed at the Serengeti Serena.
Mm-hmm.
We stayed at the Lake Minyara Serena
No, no.
Safari.
He's talking about. Are you talking about the Irene one?
that
Irene,
was
we
the
stayed at the Serengeti
Yeah.
That was
Serena
the
Yeah.
Safari Lodge.
Serengeti
Yes.
Serena. Yeah, and that was similar to the Lake Minyara.
Very similar.
Serena.
Yeah.
Very similar.
But different style units. But you know, the insides of the rooms were very similar.
Yeah.
But I think it would look like a bigger facility. It seemed like it had
Yes.
more units, it was more spread out.
Yeah. And there you needed a guide. We had to call ahead to go to dinner. We had to make sure that we had a guide with us after dark.
Yeah.
And we had to call ahead. And there were zebras right outside of our room after dinner. And there were dik-diks also that were roaming around.
Yeah,
and
I got some video
gazelles.
of some right outside our window as well.
Yeah,
right
so that's
after we
cool.
got there. And that was they had a much bigger dining room and
Yeah.
buffet area and everything, and they put on a little show that night and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christy got to do a little dancing.
Yeah. Not the hype choice.
So then our last day in the Serengeti, that was the day we really started to see like the huge numbers of
Yeah.
zebra and
Wildebeest.
and even topies and stuff mixed in with them,
Mm-hmm.
which is apparently started the migration. We weren't
Yes.
like at the height of it.
No.
Where there's
The very
tens of
beginning.
thousands or hundreds of thousands of animals, but it was plenty.
It was a lot.
It was
was
a
a
lot.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Crossing right in
impressive.
front of us, the line of them.
Mhm.
So that was cool to see.
Yeah, it was definitely like a awe moment.
Mhm.
Like just seeing so many and like in the distance, however far your eye could see, like you could see them.
Yeah.
And I think it was like a whoa, like
Yeah,
a wow
Definitely
moment.
a wow moment.
Yeah.
As you can probably tell, we absolutely loved our safari to the Serengeti and would return in a heartbeat. A big thank you to our awesome driver, Bobby, and to EXG Safaris for the opportunity. If you enjoyed this video, it would be great if you could like, comment, and or subscribe to our channel. Be sure to check out our Africa playlist. We have over 20 long videos that include hotel reviews, the Maasai village visit, our trip to Zanzibar, the Ngorongoro crater, and more. Now get out and explore the world.